Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Redford, and this is the follow-up. Coming up on tonight's show, 1 in 5 people in the U.S. experience a mental health disorder each year. That includes adults and children. The rates of anxiety and depression have dramatically increased coming out of the pandemic. And yet, many of us are still afraid to talk about it. Tonight, we have 2 guests who are working hard to drive the discussion about mental health issues here in mid-Michigan, not only getting more people to talk about it, but take action to, quite frankly, save lives. But first, we have viewer reaction from last week's show here on the follow-up. We talked about immigration and the mass deportation of undocumented immigrants set in motion by the new Trump administration. Here's what one of our viewers had to say when she dialed into our follow-up hotline.
I mean, what did these people think Trump was going to do? He stood there and told us for 4 years exactly what he would do if they elected him. They elected him. And now they're all freaking out. And as far as being law-abiding, he's never done nothing law-abiding in his life. I mean, come on. Where have these people been for the last 8 years? It clearly was not America, because if they didn't see this coming, then I don't even know how to respond to that. You know, these people act so shocked that this is going on when it's exactly what was promised.
We appreciate the phone call. We would like to hear from more of you to help drive the conversation here on the show. You can do that via social media on Facebook. You can email us. You can dial into our follow-up hotline, as that viewer just did, to offer your opinion or suggest future show topics. And if you'd like to watch any of our past shows this season, just log on to deltapublicmedia.org. Now for tonight's show, we have 2 guests dialing in virtually. We have Dallas Rao, Executive Director of the Great Lakes Bay Region Mental Health Partnership. And we also have Karen Kelly, a mental health advocate and trained in mental health first aid. Thank you both for dialing in tonight. It's going to be a good one, I can tell you that. Dallas, I'm going to start with you, and I grabbed some of your own statistics that were published in your mental health resources and planning checklist. That's something we all should have handy. Did you know 20% of adults and children, for that matter, in the U.S. experience a mental health disorder each year? 50% of all mental health illnesses begin at age 14 and 75% by age 24, and an estimated 46% of adults experience a mental illness in their lifetime. Those are numbers that are just shocking to me, and I'm sure to our viewers as well. You obviously have your work cut out for you. So give us some insight about the Great Lakes Bay Region Mental Health Partnership, what it's all about, and how do you go about reducing some of those numbers?
So much for having me tonight. You know, the Mental Health Partnership really seeks to ensure that everyone in the Great Lakes Bay region we're proactively improving mental health, right? We want people to seek access without fear of stigma, and once they do that, receive quality care and in a prompt amount of time. So that's kind of our mission and our vision and kind of what guides us. And we do that with a few different strategies that kind of keep us on the right path. We want to advance those anti-stigma and community culture that we talked about. We want to educate workplaces and youth, and we want to enhance our mental health provider access. So within that, we have a few different programs like mental health first aid, and we have an I Matter anti-stigma campaign that we do as well. And again, meeting with workplaces and offering some different programs to workplaces and different organizations across the region that can be helpful to them, perhaps when it comes to making changes to proactively improving that mental health.
We're going to unpack a lot of that and doing some good work there, and I know that you're making some traction. So during the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, we were hearing a lot more about mental health, that more people were suffering, and maybe there was a need for more help. Are we still seeing an increase of both people, children, adults, suffering from mental health issues, or is it simply a case that more cases are being reported because a lot more of us now are sort of like going, okay, I see some things, now I need to go get some help?
No, I think and would hope that we've started making these strides so that we're having the conversation about our mental health just like we do our physical health. So the need may not be about being less or more, but maybe that we're talking more about it. And I think that's the part that we like to focus on in the partnership is, creating those conversations and that open culture and that safe space to have those conversations so that, we can help people and we can be this approachable person for someone should they need that help. And, it's really hard to sometimes raise your hand, especially when it comes to mental health. And stigma can be a big barrier there. And I know we'll talk about that a little bit too. And that's something that we really want to improve on and reduce and eliminate here at the partnership. So folks do feel safe to come forward, whether it's whatever they're struggling with, whether it's um, seasonal depression, trauma, bullying, whatever the case may be. And everyone's needs are different and everyone's definition of their mental health is different. So we just want to be there and be ready to address that and help that person and support them and connect them to the resources that they may need.
Okay, Karen, I need to get you in the conversation now, and you can probably follow up on some of what Dallas was saying. So you're a mental health advocate, have been for a long time. You're trained in mental health first aid. I think you've done it a couple times, a few years back and now most recently, which we're going to get into. So, but first I think it's important for the viewers maybe to hear your story, your testimony. Why did mental health and driving awareness of it become so important to you? When did that all come together?
Well, a big part of my family history and background revolves around mental health. Unfortunately, I've lost 4 family members to suicide. And so the driving force for me is to help raise awareness, eliminate stigma, and create spaces for people to have conversations to help each other. Loving, caring conversations that provide resources and a hand to hold on the journey of life. We all do deal with challenges in life, but how do we help each other along the way? And that's really what the programs like Mental Health First Aid and Assist and some other, group programs offered now as a result of more of an emphasis on reducing stigma is to help people through the challenges so they don't escalate to a severe mental illness that left untreated can result in suicide. So that's the driving force behind my involvement in mental health and helping communities not only raise awareness, but eliminate stigma and providing resources so that we have things to turn to, that we don't have to solve those problems. We have resources to help us along the way.
Well, you both can address, we've been talking about the stigma. How big a hurdle is this? Are a lot of people simply suffering in silence or have been suffering in silence because we haven't treated mental health disorders like any other serious health-related problem or anything else out there? Karen, what do you think about that?
I do believe that. I think, the stigma does revolve around some deep things like pride or fear or shame, but all of those things are things that in the right situation with loving, caring people can help get us in the right direction as far as even just holding our hand on the path to help get the support and care that people need. So I think, yes, there are opportunities within our healthcare system and in our communities for better access to care and people that are trained to help. In the meantime, we can be that for each other. We can help fill those gaps as long as we feel confident with the language, the words to say, and how to help get people connected, to the right resources.
And I know, Dallas, you can follow up from what Karen had to say in terms of the kind of programs, the campaigns, what you're doing to kind of an anti-stigma campaign. So talk us through a little bit what you have out there.
And I think Karen really just hit the nail on the head with that too. Creating those communities and that network of people who create that safe space is so important and a big part. That's why the mental health first aid programs are a signature program of the partnership because, getting out and facilitating this training to our communities, it's building that network of people. So the median time frame between symptom onset to treatment is 10 years. And we know that stigma is the reason for that. So, really putting a focus on that and shining a light on that is so important. And again, with our programs like the Mental Health First Aid, which we offer to adults, youth, and teens, and then also our I Matter Anti-Stigma campaign is ways that we try to approach it. So, this is something that we want to do that it's going to reinforce that tie between talking about our mental health the same way we do our physical health, and making sure that when you hear these stories, we're hoping to eliminate the stigma around mental health, and beyond that, show you the strength of the human spirit and that power in community and connection, and that you're not alone.
So, Karen, you teamed up with Dallas and the Great Lakes Bay Region Mental Health Partnership, not only take the mental health first aid, but also organize an event in Frankenmuth with the Frankenmuth Noon Rotary Club to get others trained recently. I was part of that. It was fantastic. For those really not familiar with mental health first aid, kind of give us some insight on what you're in for with mental health first aid.
Well, one thing I really like to do during a program like this is take a lot of notes just to help it sink in. And I came up with a list of like the top 10 takeaways, a few, not to go through all of them, but it just gives you like, what is a great way to talk with someone that is dealing with something that's causing them to be less than happy? Giving the words of, for some people, X helps, for others, X helps. What do you think could work for you? Or just listening to understand and not to solve, saying things like, I'm here to listen, tell me more, help me understand. These are things that, so when we see something, which are the signs, things that we can see, that we ask about them. And we have a few things that we can say to take the next step in the conversation. So that's really what you learn in mental health first aid. You see something, and then now you have something that you can say that can help that person feel supported, loved, encouraged, and comfortable, safe to be able to say more. And then it creates this environment and space where you can help them further.
And the preparation for this, you weren't, like in my case, to be part of this group, I just didn't walk in the door and say, okay, let's get after it. There was some preparation. There were some things that I had to do in advance. Maybe talk about that so if people are watching at home going, wow, that sounds interesting. So what do I need to know? What do I need to do to sort of prepare? And so I'll let you take that from there.
Sure. So thank you. You create a profile online, and it walks you through some slides to introduce you to some of the terminology and to kind of help you assess where you currently are, with your comfort level, and kind of open the door for the information that you're going to be learning and understanding just how it really is going to make a difference for you. So it's a 2-hour online course. That you just go through the slides, you make progress. They have little, tests along the way to see how you're absorbing the information. And it kind of creates some space for you to go, I really want to make sure I get this when I go through the class, and I want to connect with the other people that are there. So it kind of sets the stage for learning and for a comfortable space for learning about a topic that we don't have a lot of courses out there for the general public. So it's a softening within ourselves, to be able to be ready to learn and absorb this information.
Yeah, there's some buy-in. I mean, I hope that doesn't scare people away. Wow, I have some preparation. It's a 2-hour course. Oh my goodness. I hope that doesn't scare people away, because I found so much value in that the more I knew. And I came into it more prepared, and I came out of it more prepared. So Dallas, walk us through in terms of how many of these mental health first aid meetings are you doing? What kind of organizations are you reaching out to? Do you have a lot more meetings planned? How do people kind of get connected that way?
Yeah. So I'm really happy because we have seen such an increase in interest. And I will say, while it's a signature program of the partnership, there are many other organizations even across the region that offer these trainings as well. And we welcome that, right? The more the merrier. We want to build this network, like I said. So there's many other amazing partners who can be, supportive of this as well. But we've trained about 150 people already this year, and each class takes about up to 30 people. So we can come to your place of business, we can come to your school as a professional development day, and train your staff. So it really depends on what your interests are and perhaps your audience, right? So we can do the adult classes, which teach you how to be that supportive in identifying those signs and symptoms of a mental health challenge or a substance use disorder for other adults. But if you're an adult that works with youth, we can do the youth portion with you and kind of cater it to, whatever that audience may be. And then the teen piece is really unique because we can actually go into a classroom or a youth serving organization and give the teens those skills to be that supportive friend amongst their peers. Because we know most often teens will reach out to their friends for support first, or they also have, with the training, they'll have the youth training as well for the staff. So then they can have that trusted adult that the teens will know, I can tag in Mr. or Mrs. So and so. I know that they'll help my friend. And it's okay to now pass the torch to them to give them the support and care and resources that they need. But it gives and builds those skills and that comfort level, so we can identify and be that kind of first line of help, just like first aid and CPR you might be taught at your workplace. So we're really happy that we're seeing a lot of interest, and we are offering some classes right now. We'll have some community ones coming up. We'll be offering one April 29th. We'll have one in Bay County for adult mental health first aid. We'll have a youth class on March 28th in Bay County as well. And then we'll be holding one in Midland on March 30th for adult mental health first aid. And this is all available on our Facebook site at our events page, and you can go check that out and get registered or reach out to me through our Facebook page or our website as well.
Okay, and I know we have we have the Facebook page, we have a graphic made up, we have your website as well that we can show throughout the program tonight. So what kind of feedback are you getting as a result of some of the mental health first aid? I had to take share some opinions after I went through it personally. Do you have any outcomes to share? Do you feel like you're making some traction, that people are walking away from this saying, wow, this was amazing, I learned a lot, I feel like I'm in a better position to take some action? I think I told Karen before the show, I think I was somewhat aware of my surroundings or people in my circle of interest, but now I think what the mental health first aid did for me, it made me a little bit more confident and bold to take that step. So what kind of feedback are you getting, do you think?
Well, what's really great is because with our class participants, we actually get that data directly from them about how it helped them. So you talked about, Karen mentioned in the class, you take a 2-hour course before you join the class, and we come together as a group. And then you take a post-course kind of test or quiz, and that really helps you to understand and kind of see that growth of knowledge and confidence, like you said. And we're seeing people experience a 50% increase in that confidence level after they take the course with us, on that ability and that comfortability to approach someone who may be experiencing those signs and symptoms of a mental health challenge or a substance use disorder. So this is the data, and these are these amazing outcomes that we want to see. And we have some wonderful testimonials too. We had a person go through the class, and she immediately had to utilize mental health first aid techniques and strategies and supports for one of her employees who had shared that she was having suicidal thoughts. And the care that she did, immediately engaging her training and then sharing that story with us about, almost instantaneously having to use these new skills she had received. That's what it's about. We're helping people on a proactive level. And I think that's so meaningful when it comes to mental health. And it's a piece of this work that's just so important to who we are and why we started in the beginning.
Karen, I have to go back to you and ask you about your sort of mental health advocacy journey. And you went through some very, very difficult losses in your own family, and it's been over a decade. So are you freer, have more courage to seek people out, talk about it? I'm sure it just didn't happen overnight, right? Can you talk to us how that went for you?
Right. Well, I did get into counseling, immediately, especially right after my dad. I was still pregnant with my son at the time, and so I participated right away. But then along my life, I've gone to a lot of different things. There's been a lot of different retreats and seminars and books I've read, programs. I've always just been seeking this because I want to stop this in my family. I want, this to end. I want the stigma to be removed and this not be the way that we deal with depression or mental illness in our family. So now I just feel that I've really done well with it. I feel very healthy in the way I process and handle my life. I have a lot of joy and happiness in so many different areas. So I want to be that hope and belief, not only for people in my family, but for many others, because I know so many people do deal with some level of anxiety, and I think it's just catching it in its tracks before it gets too far along and develops into a more serious mental illness. So how do we do that? We raise awareness, we teach the language, we learn the language of things to say, and we develop the spaces where people can have these open conversations and walk a journey of more happiness and joy in their life. So that's been it. It's just been a constant, thirst for me, and, just protecting my son too, and my grandchildren, and, my family, just stopping this pattern.
Right.
It's just unfortunate.
Well, you've certainly made a difference with the Frankenmuth Noon Rotary Club, and we are members together. You've certainly inspired us, got us to think a lot more about it, educated us, and the mental health first aid class that you worked to organize was fantastic, so thank you for that. Dallas, I'm going to come back to you. We know that mental health disorders can affect every age range, right? I think sometimes we think about it, the young people, and some of the statistics bear that out. Are there, with young people, whether it's middle schoolers, teens, what are the top 2 or 3 sort of issues that they're having? Is it anxiety? Is it depression? Is there some other things on that list that we need to think about and look at?
The most important data points I always come back to when we talk about our teens is that 64% of teens in the US who experience a mental health challenge don't seek help. And that's a problem, we want to seek fix with, encouraging help and making those safe people and talking the correct language with them. And then suicide, the leading cause of death for youth and adults, young adults in Michigan. And those statistics alone, are overwhelming. And to be a part of, hopefully, a proactive approach to get the skills into the hands of our youth so they feel more prepared, and the teachers and staff at the buildings and our schools and their administrators, everyone's doing a wonderful job. So if there's anything that we can do to help partner or support them in this journey, that's what we're here for.
Okay, and another area that always seems to be a challenge, I assume, is finding enough qualified counselors and therapists. People talk about waiting weeks before they can be seen by someone, whether that's in person or even virtually. Is that still a big challenge when people are looking for help? And if so, how are we going about recruiting more folks to get in that field and make sure we're matching up people in a timely fashion?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is what we try to focus on too is nationwide, I think there is still a shortage, right? And we've actually grown the number of providers in the region based on our county-wide health rankings. But we really want to make sure that what we're doing is to attract those professions here and then retain them here in the region, right? So one thing that we try to do, and kind of one of our niche areas with what the partnership likes to focus on, is helping to take care of our providers, right? We know burnout, we talked about the pandemic a little bit earlier. That really affected our providers of all kinds, but especially mental health, right? And so hosting events for them and helping them to come out of their silos and come together and network and be celebrated and thanked for what they do, and how we can give them tools and techniques to focus on their self-care and their wellness and different well-being techniques that might be helpful for them. And we do have some resources for providers directly that we like to offer them, but that's something that we'd like to focus on in the partnership.
Yeah, and Karen, I don't know if that was part of your journey. Was there any kind of frustration? Did you have good access to good people? Did it take some time? Did you have to be patient? Tell us a little bit about how it went for you.
Right. When I said I participated in counseling, it's what can you solve in 1 week, for 1 hour? And how do you find the right person that you trust? And then if you do need to change providers now, you're repeating your story again. And is that really the best, the healthiest way of processing it? So yeah, it is challenging. I think we do have to be resourceful in finding, what will work for us. Like one thing I think of is just having, an imaginary leather bag, I called it, and just all the different things I know that are going to help me personally feel better when I'm going through a tough time or processing something difficult. and then going through each one until I find something that works. So for me, it was the retreats, it was reading a book or journaling, and definitely exercise and my faith. So I always knew I could count in on those to kind of help me get to the next layer of learning and healing, from some of these things that I went through. So yeah, we have to be resourceful, and I'm happy to be learning more and more just through this advocacy of more resources. I just, recently learned about the Stevens Ministry, which is outstanding, and also some advancements with different medications, to help people in depression, and how we can more appropriately, prescribe medications to help people. So I think there are many, many very good things happening, but yes, I think we have to be resourceful in finding our best care.
Okay, in the last couple of minutes we have here, I think we need a little spend on, for the viewers, to where can people turn to find resources for mental health, whether it's to get the immediate help, getting more educated on what's out there. Dallas, where would you direct people for these 1-800 numbers, whatever it is?
One thing I'll always say is, if you are in a crisis or you're having suicidal thoughts, call or text 988. It is a free and confidential resource that is available 24/7, 365. And that will hopefully get you the help that you need immediately and connected. What I also say is, talk to your primary care physician. Have those conversations with them about what help and what's in your network and how to get connected. You could even perhaps talk to your human resources department and ask what resources exist there too. We have some resources on our website at greatlakesbay.com/mental health. And there's a resource tab that has a pre-planning checklist available that kind of talks about and gives you some ideas to think about, maybe before you go through a mental health challenge or crisis. So you kind of know those steps to take, what to expect in terms of a copay, who might be in network and those different things, and what resources exist in your community, because there are amazing partners across the region who do this work, have sliding fee scales, that have supports and different scholarships available that can be very helpful for you or your family.
Good. Well, I know you're doing some fundraising as well. They can go to your website because there's a cost to the Mental Health First Aid. There's a cost to running the partnership, and they can go to your website to help generate some funds for this important initiative. Dallas Rao, thank you so much. Keep up the good work. Karen Kelly, thank you for being so honest and transparent. And I know our viewers are listening, and got to keep at it. We're going to drive some more awareness and save some lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's our show for tonight, but be sure to join us again next week here on The Follow-Up. We'll focus on AI, artificial intelligence, what you need to know about DeepSeek, ChatGPT, and the Stargate project. It's going to impact you one way or another. That's next week here on The Follow-Up.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And make sure to click that bell icon to stay notified when we upload new content. Videos like this are only possible because of viewers like you. To help support this channel, click on the link in the description below. We'll see you next time.